What up, everybody? Scuffy here, and it is time. Just the heydays. It's a glorious day. It's a glorious day, as Colonel Orentop would say.
It's a glorious day.
Yes, because it is time for spoilers for the neutrals. For the neutrals of the Defenders of Terra expansion. So, what does that mean? What does that mean with the neutrals? Well, folks, we got ourselves some interesting neutrals, right? As we should, when we're talking about the neutrals, we're talking about Imperial Army, we're talking about Mechanicum, and we're talking about Chaos. But let's be real, like, you and I and everybody else should know that Chaos wasn't defending Terra. The expansion is called Defenders of Terra. Now, there were some Mars components there as well, and Chaos certainly did play a part of it, but the biggest focus we're going to take a look at is the Imperial Army. The Imperial Army, I've got 3 cards from the Imperial Army faction to spoil for you today. 3 different rarities, 3 things that I think will add some new little things to the game. So, first off, let's get into it. The first card I'm going to show you, kind of give you a little tip on which way we're going. We'll take a look at some other stuff that actually factors into that before we get into the other 2. This is important to note. Forward Valerius Storm section, you will see right off the bat, we've got a Solar Auxilia, a little new icon here for the Imperial Army, and this is essentially going to work like the icon for cultists. It is a special identifier, a keyword, or a trait, as you would have it in a standard card game. So this is an infantry, this is an Imperial Army infantry, and then on top of that, it's also a Solar Auxilia. Now, the Solar Auxilia? Yeah, Auxilia is the better way to say it. Were basically the elite of the Imperial Army. They were the best of the best. They were, the Green Berets, the Marines, the Stormtroopers, the Kazarkin, however which way you want to consider the top notch. That's who these guys were. These guys were worth their weight. They were not Astartes. They were the next best thing. This guy here is a common for 2 energy. He's a 1/3 with frontline, but he gains +1/+0 for each friendly Solar Auxilia in play. Now, it's important to note here, this is going to be a keyword that applies to this troop. And there are several other Solar Auxilias already in the game that are important to keep your eye on. So first off, and there's probably a couple that I'm missing here, but we're going to take a look at a few of them. So first off, the las rifle section. If it says Solar Auxilia in the card, it will be receiving that icon. It doesn't have it on there right now, but by the time the expansion comes out, those cards that have been identified as Solar Auxilia are going to have that card on them. Valerius, this is already a Solar Auxilia. Valerius Storm section will be a Solar Auxilia. The Tracosian, Solar Auxilia, Armored Transport. I also believe we've got some higher cost ones. Believe it or not, the Ogren Char Knight squad is a Solar Auxilia. They're really top-notch Ogrens. And then Defense Force. That's right, Defense Force. So you actually have got a decent range of Solar Auxilias already existing in the game that this card can add to it, right? Give it +1/+0 for each of those different troops in board, and it's got frontline. Now, that's just a common, that's not something super flashy, but it's nice. It's a frontline. It's a troop that can be generated by our friend Ornitov and Thaddeus Vale. Very friendly for Latara and Lucretia and Rogel Dorn, anybody who wants to benefit from frontline troops. I've gone on enough about the common and the concept of Solar Auxilia. You're going to see this icon on a lot of the Imperial Army cards coming out of this expansion. So getting into that, let's take a look at the second card I have to show off, which is a tactic. This is great. This is one of the iconic images. I love Defiant Stand. Give frontline to a friendly troop. We've seen that on a lot of cards, but if it's Solar Auxilia, it also gives it Survivor 1. It's almost a little better than Courage, given how cheap it is affordable as a neutral. I love the image. That's probably one of the best Defiant Stand pictures that exist in the Horus Heresy art catalog as it is. Nothing nothing says more defiant than holding your ground against a charging Angron Demon Prince. But this is pretty straightforward. This is just a 1 energy rare tactic that gives you a frontline troop, and if it's got the Solar Auxilia, it gains Survivor 1. Maybe give that Ogren frontline off the bat, or that defense force. I mean, that's an expensive frontline, but you could certainly do it if you don't have access to a warlord such as Ornitov, who gives frontline on demand. Now, said we've got 3 rarities. I've given you a common, I've given you a rare. I do have a legendary to give off, and this one is really nice. It actually ties the 2 things together that we've seen here. Marcus Valerius is a Solar Auxilia. Very nicely costed, Prefector of the Therion. This guy was actually a key player for the Raven Guard, and one of the reasons why they were able to be rescued off of Istvan 5. But he is a Solar Auxilia. In addition to that, he's got this resolution, which is very powerful. Give Survivor 1 to your Solar Auxilia troops. Anytime you've got a resolution, it's great. It's a resolution that's giving Survivor 1 to all of your Solar Auxilia troops. He takes the best of both worlds. Give him frontline with Survivor, and now he is giving everybody else Survivor. This has got a lot of implications. This card here as a legendary is a very nice legendary troop that can be generated once again by Ornitov, can be generated once again by Thaddeus Vale if we want to go that route. We've got... he can be played for 5 energy with Lucretia. He's immune to Melgator. And with the neutral troops that we're going to be seeing here, the fact that he can give them Survivor 1, you can give him frontline. Every turn they're going to gain Survivor 1 actually works really well for a lot of decks that want to rely on troops. I just so happen to point out one of the guys who really likes to give things Bastion to make things harder to kill. How about Bastion and Survivor? Why not? What if Rogel Dorn has got he's got some stalwart defenders, and those stalwart defenders are no longer turrets, but they are the Solar Auxilia. Or maybe they're Solar Auxilia manning the turrets with some Astartes. Maybe it's a diverse, eclectic mix. Who's to say? Salamanders might benefit from this too, although that's a little fringe, but they do have a few cards that can work with some infantry. And if we've got some decent new neutral infantry coming along the way, it's worth considering. But mainly I'm really excited for the Imperial Army neutral warlords. Anytime you add more troops that both Ornitov and Fail can generate, that's always a nice thing. Them being a little bit cheaper for Lucretia, very nice. And Latara has already got access to some very good frontline protecting some of those troops that we've already looked at. Las Rifle is a very commonly played card. So you could expect to see more cards, just as we have in the game for cultists, such as, just all the cultist cards actually. I mean, everything that's got a cultist icon, or that creates a cultist, or adds a cultist to your hand. I think we're going to start to see things like that. We're going to start to see more cards for the Imperial Army side. And actually, that's really exciting because that is something I have been waiting for a very long time. Then we've got Marks of Chaos. We've got cultists. What about the Loyal Infantry? Well, it's time. Their dues have come. So that's it for me, guys. That is the spoilers I have to talk about. Before you go, if you haven't checked out the Warp Chatter podcast, we do a podcast every Thursday. Those episodes talk to players in the community, talked about whatever's going on in the game, lore, content, patches, whatever it is. Always welcome to have folks on. And we'll probably be talking about the spoilers and the new neutrals and the expansion as a whole with whoever's coming up. We're talking about World Cup. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. 2 more days, and these cards are going to be added to the mix. And you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to create some new things with or without Khorne's favor being a factor. I mean, throw enough guys with frontline and Survivor out on the board, Khorne's favor might find it a little stiff for that one turn. That's my hope. My hope is that people are going to be that Angron Demon Prince, and they're going to get all Khorne's favory, and they're going to be charging, and we're going to see a lot of defiant stands make their way. I'd like to see that. That's just me. So, anyways, guys, thanks for checking out the spoilers. Good luck in the upcoming events. Good luck on your crate pulls. And until next time, keep playing Legions.